Coming up right now in the Raiders report, it's time to lock in because we've got the latest buzz coming straight out of Raiders minicamp. And I'm talking about the kind of information that makes you sit up and start paying attention. Not only are we diving into key updates you need to know as the team takes the field in Henderson, but we're also going to shine the spotlight on a handful of players who might just sneak up on the radar and surprise not only Raiders fans, but maybe even Pete Carroll and John Spytek. And let me tell you something. The more unexpected names that show up and show out during this phase of the offseason, the better. Why? Because surprise means competition, and competition means growth. It means roster spots are being fought for, rows are being earned, and no one is safe unless they show up and bring it every single day. So if you're hungry for Raiders minicamp coverage all week long, this is where you want to be. Turn those notifications on and subscribe, because as soon as I'm back from wedding mode, yeah, it was a beautiful ceremony, thanks for asking. It's full focus on the silver and black. Minicamp officially kicks off June 10th and runs through June 12th. But before the real action starts, June 9th is the day when players report for physicals. That's the line in the sand. You clear the physical, you get to work. And let's be clear, this isn't just a little friendly walkthrough. It's mandatory. 3 days. Show up or pay up. The league allows teams to find players who skip out, and while no major absences are expected, Colt Miller and Jacoby Myers are two names to keep an eye on. They were both present at earlier voluntary activities, so it would be a surprise to see them bail now and risk a fine. But hey, never say never in the NFL. Now, just to paint the picture for you, we're not talking about full contact practices here, but helmets are on and intensity is ramped up. You're going to see guys flying around getting physical, doing everything but going full speed into contact. Quarterbacks will be wearing those red no-contact jerseys, so keep your hands off them, but that doesn't mean we won't get a real taste of live football. This is where it gets good. This is when the offense and defense finally start going head-to-head in a structured setting, and coaches get their first legit look at how these rosters stack up against each other. 3 days of this sets the tone for the next phase, the long stretch leading into training camp. And believe me when I say this, what happens in minicamp can absolutely dictate the roster moves a team will consider over the next month and a half. Let's talk surprises, because I've been thinking hard about some of the names that might not just make waves at camp, but really shake things up. And when I was putting this list together, I had one rule: no big names, no obvious guys. So don't expect to hear about Dante Thornton Jr. in this segment. Look, if you're still surprised by what Dante can do, then you probably weren't paying attention during May. This isn't about the flashy rookies or the projected starters. This is about the underdogs, the long shots, the kind of players that, if you're watching this in June, you're probably just as curious about as I am. Let me start with a guy that's grown on me recently, Thomas Harper. This dude wasn't high on my radar in the early stages. He barely got a mention in my first 53-man roster projection. But now, he's a name that keeps popping up. The coaching staff likes his flexibility. He's been moving around at free safety and even getting some reps in the nickel. He might not have that tall, rangy, ultra-athletic profile that Pete Carroll usually drools over, but Harper's doing the little things right. If he keeps flashing, don't be shocked if he forces his way into the conversation. Another intriguing one is Loom Tosi. This man is massive, an absolute unit who joined the squad through the International Pathway program. Originally a defensive tackle, they've been experimenting with him at offensive guard, and it's easy to see why. The size, the power. He's built like a bouncer at the gates of Valhalla. There's a real possibility that he sticks around as a stash player on the practice squad, especially since teams get an extra spot for international players. Don't overlook this guy, especially if the Raiders want to develop their own version of the tush push. Moving to the outside, let's talk about wide receiver Alex Bachman. If you watched last season's camp, you might remember this name, and if you don't, you're about to. He's a grinder, a veteran by mindset, even if not by accolades. All he does is show up and compete. Word around the facility is he's already made a few clutch catches during off-season sessions. And with his route running and solid hands, he's the kind of guy that Geno Smith can trust in a crunch. He might not blow you away with athleticism, but he's consistent. And sometimes that's enough. And then there's Colin Johnson. 6'6", 222 pounds. This man is a skyscraper in cleats. If you see him on the field, you can't miss him. He's easily the tallest wideout out there, and even though he doesn't have the explosive traits of a Dante Thornton Jr., he might get mistaken for him from a distance. Still, Johnson's sheer size makes him a red zone threat. If he can catch the ball cleanly and be a reliable possession receiver, that might be enough to earn a longer look. Shifting back to the trenches, Dalton Wagner is someone to watch closely. Yes, he was in my 53-man projection, but the reason I bring him up again is the battle that's brewing between him and Thea Munford. It's a real competition, and the coaching staff is going to have to decide, do we keep 8 offensive linemen or do we make room for 9? Wagner's fate could depend on whether he can make enough noise to force that decision. Another name, and one that you may not have heard much about yet, is Carter Renan. This tight end is an athletic project with a basketball background and the kind of frame that gets scouts excited. He put up 45 catches for over 500 yards and 5 touchdowns at Towson, and while he's still raw in terms of route running and blocking, you can't teach athleticism. Some folks are already comparing his upside to the early Darren Waller days. Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves. He's not that level of freak, but he's a name worth circling, especially with the tight end room likely locked in with Michael Mayer and Brock Wright. Renan's best shot is to flash in the passing game and prove he can be that third option upside piece. Let's stay on the defensive side and bring up Andre Carter. Joined the team late last season, and every time you talk to someone around the facility, they mention how hard this guy works. He and Charles Snowden are locked in a battle, and every snap matters. If Carter can consistently show pressure and effort, he might sneak into the final mix. Right behind him is John Joyner, an undrafted free agent that I actually had a 5th-round grade on heading into the draft. The edge position beyond Max Crosby and Malcolm Kuntz is wide open. The coaching staff is still trying to figure out what they have in Tyree Wilson. And if Joyner can provide just a little bit of consistent pass rush or special teams value, that could earn him a spot. Zach Carter is another defensive lineman to mention. Last season, he had his moments. 22 tackles, 1.5 sacks. And with the addition of Christian Wilkins, there's definitely more pressure inside. If they want to carry 7 defensive tackles, Carter could be that 7th guy. Although, keep in mind, they're also high on Tank Booker, another massive human being who brings raw strength to the line. Linebacker depth is another area full of mystery and opportunity. Jalen Walker is making waves as an undrafted free agent. He's been competing closely with Matt Jones, and both guys have shown some flashes. Walker stands out more in coverage, which this defense desperately needs, and he could carve out a role on special teams. Speaking of experience, Jalen Smith is still in the mix. At 29 years old, he's got the leadership, the presence, and he even wore the captaincy in camp. The big question for him is whether he can contribute on special teams. If they start running him out there in those units, take notice. That's a sign he might stick. Michael Barrett, out of Michigan, deserves a mention too. Look, if you're a Raiders fan and you're not paying attention to Michigan guys, you're missing the vibe. This is a front office and coaching staff that loves the culture and pedigree of those players. Barrett is the winningest player in Michigan history. That means something. It meant something to Tom Brady. It means something to Pete Carroll. And it might just mean something to the final roster when decisions get made. He's got a better shot on special teams or the practice squad, but you never know. And let's not forget the cornerbacks. Mello Dotson from Kansas is another undrafted guy who plays with relentless effort. He's not the most athletic player in the room, but if he can create turnovers and prove he belongs in 11-on-11s, he might find a lane to stick around. Kansas relied on him for defensive touchdowns, and this Raiders squad wants to take the ball away. He could help with that. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders, and don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Rumor has it that Davante Adams, the star wide receiver, might be having serious second thoughts about his move away from the Las Vegas Raiders. The buzz began after an emotional revelation where Adams openly admitted that leaving the Raiders was a mistake he regrets daily. This confession has set the sports world abuzz, sparking speculation about his future and whether a reunion with the Raiders could be on the horizon. Sources close to Adams hint that the decision to depart was influenced by a mix of factors. Perhaps pressure, expectations, or the allure of a fresh start elsewhere. But now, with some distance and reflection, the star seems to question that choice deeply. The Raiders fans, still loyal and hopeful, have already started to dream about the possibility of bringing their former hero back to the silver and black. Could the Raiders front office be preparing a move to welcome him home? Insiders suggest that talks might already be happening behind closed doors. The scenario presents an intriguing dynamic. Adams' regret is public, and in the cutthroat world of professional football, that kind of honesty is rare. It opens the door to various possibilities, including trade rumors, contract negotiations, or even a mid-season transfer that shakes up the league. Other teams might also be watching closely, knowing that a player of Adams' caliber could be available sooner than expected if the Raiders decide to make a bold move. While nothing is confirmed, the timing of Adams' admission has fueled speculation that the Raiders are not done with him yet. The buzz around the NFL suggests this story is far from over, and fans and analysts alike are eager to see if this regret will translate into a headline-making return. Could we be witnessing the start of one of the most talked about comebacks in recent football history? Only time will tell, but for now, the rumor mill is spinning fast, and the excitement is palpable. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.